I was completely alone, completely alone. There was no Facebook group, there was nothing. And I remember just being sat there and I felt so physically sick. And I thought, Jess, maybe you should just not do it right now.
Welcome to the Venture-Ette podcast, where women from all over the world share their stories of travel, moving abroad, and creating a new life for themselves, hoping to inspire you to live out your dreams by showing you how other women did it. I'm your host, Venture-Ette, Ashley.
Hi guys, welcome to Venture-Ette podcast. I'm Ashley, and I just want to start off by saying that I hope you're okay. It's another week living in this new norm, so I hope you're getting through each day the best way you can. But I'm hoping to bring some light to your day by having my best friend, Jess, on today's episode. I met her in 2014, the day we both moved to Barcelona, Spain, and from then we've gone on to have an amazing friendship that I could have never imagined. I mean, we've had Christmases together, we've traveled together, we've moved to another country together. So I really have gotten to know this woman inside and out, and she is a beautiful person to the core. Though on social media, people know her as someone who lives sustainably. She is a vegan because of her love of animals, and she does wellness practices daily that she shares with the thousands of people that follow her. Though it's been quite the journey for her to get to this point of spirituality and wellness. So today, I'm excited for her to share her story as to how she's gotten to this point of finding what her passions are and what her purpose in life is through living abroad and travel.
I'm really excited to welcome my friend, Jess.
Hey!
Hey, Jess. You know, this is a weird time, but I want to kind of take it back to another time many years ago. I mean, because you've lived abroad and traveled right now for how many years?
Oof. Okay. So the first place I ever moved to by myself was actually, I don't even know if you know about this because we're taking it back to like 10 years ago nearly, when I moved to Greece and I moved to Malia, I think it was. That's obviously way before you knew me, but I actually started off working in Malia as like a promo girl. This is like I was like 18, 19. And then I think it was like 4 years later, so around 2015, that I moved to London for university in 2012. And then 2014 was when, I think we met and I moved to Barcelona. So Barcelona now, 6 years it's been.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time, like since we first met. But, you know, before like you moved abroad though, like how was your day to day?
Oh, the first move abroad was, like I said, Barcelona. So before that, I just completed my fashion degree at the London College of Fashion. That was a 3-year degree. And out of that, I thought I wanted to, go into this fashion world in London and loved it so much at the time. And then in my 3rd year, I was kind of like, oh, what can I do with my life? Where am I going to go here? And my day-to-day life when the degree ended was pretty much an intern making hardly any money to survive in London. We know how expensive it is in London. It's crazy. And I was just barely able to cover, my rent. I was working for a PR agency that, let's just say, didn't treat me like absolute crap. I've worked with fashion magazines, and I was going through a really rough time because I thought this was the path that I was supposed to be on because I'd worked so hard to get there. And day to day, it was just like the 9 to 5. And after you've done that for a little while, for me personally, I started to wonder about a life where I didn't have to do the 9 to 5. And I started to wonder about what is really out there for me outside of London and this fashion career that I wanted, So it was kind of the same thing every day, getting on the tube, going, rush hour tube hour, which if you've been in London, I know you have, it's a nightmare. It's so intense every single day. It's so tiring doing that for next to no money. So it was a really strange time for me, actually.
Yeah, no, I feel like everyone goes through kind of that strange time where you work so hard for something and you kind of like do achieve it. And then you start to realize like, this is actually maybe not what I wanted after all. But you said like, you actually moved to Greece, for a little bit when you were 18. Like, why didn't you kind of stay there? Like, why did you decide to come back and still pursue, I guess, quote unquote, regular life?
So growing up in Manchester, my family is like, they grew up like working class, and like my mom was a single mom until I was about 4. My dad, very much working class. He was a plasterer. My granddad was in the war. My family has just kind of always kind of gotten by. So for me, I grew up with not knowing any different. I never knew there was life outside of Manchester. I never even thought about it, to be honest. So coming out of college, I didn't even get good enough grades to go and actually do like, A levels, if I'm completely honest. And I went off and did like a little beauty degree, like a makeup and like hair diploma, it was, not degree. And after I did that, I started to work at Selfridges in Manchester. And that's when I started to meet new people. And all these people were like, oh, yeah, I've just come back from like, doing a season in Ibiza. Or like, Ibiza wasn't that massive then, but it was more like Malia or Magaluf or Ayia Napa, places like that. And then it just so come up that we went to Malia. And then when I came back, I think I went back 3 times actually. So I was really trying to break free. But that was all I knew. It was really just the kind of party seasonal holidays that you go and do a season in and then you come back home. So I guess that's why I came back, because I didn't really know any different.
I feel like everyone, when they grow up, when they think of traveling, it's like something that's just temporary, like you just go for a bit and then you come back and then you plan another trip for a bit and then you come back. No one ever sees it as a possible like permanent kind of thing.
100%. I mean, even now, like people save up for 6 months to go travel for a few months and then they come back, and it's such a temporary thing. And that's what I always thought it was. I thought, okay, so you do a summer here, you come back, work the winter. And actually it's weird because now I'm like, why do people like, obviously summer in a place, in a European country or wherever is so much fun. But then you're coming back to like, for me, England, where like in the winter it's so depressing to like work and do like say a retail job or something like that, which I was doing at the time. It's probably the most depressing time to actually come back and work because it's dark at like 3 and the sun doesn't come up till about 8 o'clock. So people, that's what they do. That's what I did for a really long time, I guess.
Yeah, no, I didn't live in Manchester during the winter, but I remember going there for Christmas and I was just like, oh my God, it's dark for so long.
Yeah, it is a really difficult time for a lot of people because it's so dark, it's so gloomy, and it's freezing as well.
Exactly. So like, obviously, eventually, you went back to the regular life for X amount of years. And then you were like, okay, I actually really want to make a change. And that was to Barcelona. So how did you like find that opportunity to move to Barcelona?
Oh, when you remember like certain stages of your life. So I don't remember like the small little bits adding up to it. These are the bits that I remember. I remember just being so fed up. This was whilst I was in London, but I had a festival coming up in Croatia. I was massively into like electronic music back then, and just love going to festivals and just hearing new music, and I just love that side to it. I was still working at the PR agency and I just was waiting for this festival to come up. But I was just so done and I was so tired, and went to the festival. And whilst I was there, I just thought, you know what? I can't go back. I cannot go back to that life. Like, this is just freedom for me. Just meeting new people and just like meeting so many like-minded people every single day and just waking up to the sunshine and all of that. And I went back to London, and within a week, I moved back to Manchester. Like, I literally packed up my whole life. So the thing about me is I don't do things by halves, and you know this completely. We know each other. We make a decision. It's like, right, that's it. And I think I needed to see or experience that freedom, even at being at a festival, because I was working there, just to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this anymore. Came back, packed up my whole life, went back to Manchester, didn't even think about Barcelona. And then within the next 2 weeks, I was literally just researching. I'd never heard of teaching abroad before, nothing. And I just dedicated myself to finding another option or another way of life that was going to aid me to feel more free in my lifestyle. And then I come across, I think it was actually on Gumtree, and I found an opportunity which was just, basically like, come and work abroad in Spain. You can live with a Spanish family. And I just said yes and had my interview. And within 2 weeks, I got accepted. And my mum was like, what are you doing? Are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it because I just feel like I needed it.
Yeah, no, like it's crazy how when you really put your mind to something, you can really do it, even if it is in a short amount of time. And especially like the fact that you were able to do it in 2 weeks is like crazy. So you got the job, right? And then how was the move? I mean, did you have like a lot of savings when you moved? Like, did you find like it was easy to move for you? Like, how was the setup?
Again, I was talking about the things you just remember so vividly. So I remember being sat. You've been in my parents' house. So, like in the bathroom, there's that like little window and you can kind of sit on like a little, it's not a balcony, it's like a little, I don't know what you call it, but you can basically sit near the window and like look out, right? And I remember just being sat there and I felt physically sick. Like, because I'd moved to London before, but I knew that it was with uni, it's a bit different, But with this, I was in Barcelona, like I was completely alone, completely alone. There was no Facebook group, there was nothing. And I remember just being sat there and I felt so physically sick. And I thought, Jess, maybe you should just not do it right now because, and I remember I came downstairs and I said, I feel a bit like, should I be doing this? Mum said, oh, are you sure you want to go? Because she obviously was scared for me and whatever. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to absolutely commit to this. I probably had about 200, £300 savings or something like that. I didn't really have anything to my name and we didn't really get paid a lot, but I just knew there was something that was going to ignite in me that I really needed at that time. So I just thought, you know what? I've got no savings hardly, but it'll work out. Like, and that's what I've always thought with every experience. I've always been like, you know what? It's going to work out no matter what, because the universe has got my back.
Yeah, no, it really does. Yeah. Like, I feel like if you really just try to have a positive mindset, like things do somehow work out or things really do kind of come your way, like maybe not right away, but like eventually does if you like really believe hard enough.
Yeah, 100%. And like, even back then, before like the mindset that I have now, I know everything will be okay no matter what. But even back then, like I didn't know anything about how your mindset creates your reality or anything like that. But I always had this, I think like if you make such a big move and you make such big changes to your life, you have to believe it's going to be okay. You have to believe, like it has to be almost like an unwavering belief in yourself and what you're doing. And even if you don't necessarily like the move or whatever you're doing, you have to know that it will lead you someplace or closer to the thing that you want eventually. And that's what I thought about Barcelona. I was like, you know what, even if I don't have any friends and, it's really weird and whatever, I just know that it will be okay. You have to keep that positive mindset with everything that's going to make you so uncomfortable.
Exactly. So, I mean, you arrived to Barcelona, but luckily enough, I mean, you did meet someone. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about that first day, like what exactly happened. I mean, you land in Barcelona, you get picked up by the program, and what happens next?
Yeah, so I met someone very special indeed. And thank God that I did, because, like how many years later, still here. So basically, the job in Barcelona was a teaching program with teachers from all over the world. And you're all in the same program, but you're with somebody else, usually in the same school. So the first few days, we was in this like campus, which was really nice because everyone was pretty much alone. And, suddenly you have this little family, which I didn't even know that you would have. So everyone who thought there was going to be alone actually wasn't. But I'm kind of like the kind of person that I do keep myself to myself. Like I can chat for hours once I know you, but I'm not very like forthcoming with like, hi and how are you and stuff. So I was in a food queue and I was starving as usual. Like I'm always hungry. And God, there was like 100 teachers trying to get food. And I remember this girl next to me and I could see she was like eyeing up the food and, thinking, oh, how can I get to the front of the queue? And I was like, honey, she better not push in front of me because I'm going to have to, I'm going to deal with her. And then within me trying to make sure you didn't get in front of me because I was so hungry, we got chatting, which is obviously me and you, and we become the best friends that we are today.
Yeah, it really is true. Food really does bring people together, doesn't it?
Especially me and you, like, and still to this day, we are like, God, we have so many stories about food and how we've done ridiculous things with food, me and you, but we really did come together in that moment because of food. Just because, like, I was eyeing you up thinking, what's she doing there? She's trying to get in front of me or what? And I'm sure you might have been thinking the same.
Yeah. No, but obviously that day was special because we both had just arrived in Barcelona and we started talking and we realized that we had like so much in common, which I mean was part of the experience we both wanted, was to meet other like-minded people who wanted like the same kind of experience. And it's kind of crazy that because of that, like that same day you invited me to spend Christmas in Manchester with you.
Yeah, so as much as I'm quite like, when I mentioned before, I can be quite not standoffish, but I'm a little bit quiet until I really know someone. Then I met you, and within the first hour, I was like, so what are you going to do for Christmas? You can't be by yourself. Come to my house, in Manchester. It's cold, but you'll like it, right? Remember that?
No, I do remember that. And I was just thinking like, oh my gosh. And I remember I didn't even question it. I just thought, yeah, of course. That sounds like a great idea. And then I remember the next day you told me, oh yeah, I told my mom. She's really excited to have you.
Yeah. And my mum was like, great, woo, got an American. She loved that. But, I think like once I feel a connection with someone, which I obviously so did with you, it was like, yeah, you're mine. That's it. Don't ever leave me. You're coming to my house for Christmas. And, like we felt a lot of the same emotions. Like we both felt very trapped in our previous like jobs and our lifestyle. And we both wanted change. And obviously you traveled a lot further than I did. And it was scary for us both. And I feel like we've both found a lot of comfort in each other. And I actually remember, because I was always the one like leading, like, let's get a drink, because I'm from Manchester and that's what we do, right? And I remember us sneaking out to a bar and then getting in loads of trouble for it. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember we came back and then one of the directors thought that we had snuck out to a party and we said, no, we went to a bar, like, literally just to get a quick drink because they let us out for like an hour or something. And, we came back, but they just thought that we were going to some sort of house party. It was a very unique experience. You go there expecting to feel freedom, but then you also kind of felt kind of trapped because of the program.
For sure, yeah, that was a thing. And I was like, I'm 23. How is anyone going to ask me like where we're going or anything like that? But they was really strict.
Yeah, they were. But of course, they wanted us to like really have like a good bonding experience because the next day, that's when our host families came to pick us up.
Yeah. I remember that too. Now I look back on it and I just feel like, oh, that was really like awkward and uncomfortable for me personally, because I mean, you're really good in pretty much all situations with people. Like, you're so much better at dealing with like new people than I am. But I found it really difficult, like, being at the house and being with the family in the house all the time. And it was quite a strange experience for me. And it was so uncomfortable at times for me personally, just because you are expected to be with them a lot of the time. It's like having a new family, but you don't really know each other.
I guess like for someone who I guess wanted to do something like this, it's just kind of like you joined this program kind of finding out last minute that you're going to be with the host family. But why did you feel like you still agreed to it and wanted to pursue this program?
Yeah, it was a question that I asked myself a lot, but the positives kind of outweighed the negatives in the sense of like, okay, so I could go back to Manchester. I'd have nowhere to live. I'd have to live back with my mum, who's awesome, but I've not lived there for years. And you develop your own ways of living and it's difficult. Or I could stay here and still experience Barcelona and still be here. We went traveling a lot, obviously, in Spain. And I could just suck it up. And that was the kind of thing that I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to see how it goes. Just see what happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you don't know until you try. And besides living with the host, how did you feel like living in Spain? Obviously it's a bit different than from how it was when you were in Greece a few years prior, but how was adjusting to a different culture?
I loved it. Like the Spanish culture for me is out of all the places that I've been and lived, I think the Spanish culture just resonates with me so much because they love tapas, they love red wine. I just love their way of life. It's a much slower way of life. And that's what I wanted after living in London for years, for like 4 years. I just wanted to slow stuff down and I wanted to just live differently to what I was living like before. I adapted really well. I mean, I loved it, but I would have loved it more if I was by myself in my own flat or with you. Do you know what I mean? In our own little place. But, you make the best of the situation. And now I look back and I could not do it right now. But at the time, at 23, it was just what I needed.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it too. Like now I could never do that experience again. But when you're kind of just starting out and really just trying to figure things out on your own, an experience like that, I mean, can be really helpful. So the program was 9 months, but both of us left early. So why did you decide to leave early and go back to Manchester for a bit?
So there was a few things. A big thing for me, going back to what we were just talking about, was the independence. I think it was after 5 months or something. First of all, I lived with a family of five, and they did expect a lot of me. Like, they was lovely, so, so lovely. But I was always just trying to gain more independence, and living there, I just didn't feel so independent. So that was a big deal. And then I lived with an amazing 65-year-old woman who lived on her own, divorced, and she was incredible. Like, we had the best time. She had this amazing apartment right in the center, and she was great. And I did that for a few months. But again, it was like, still did not have that independence that I really craved. And also, the money was an issue because you lived with a family. I think we got paid, how much was it, like 400 or 300 euros a month or something?
200 euros.
Oh my God, I was going to say that, but actually I thought it was more. So how the hell are you supposed to live on that and live like in a great city and go out and do everything you wanted? Like, you literally couldn't really do much with that kind of money. And I had a private tutoring job and stuff, but still it just wasn't really enough to live on.
Yeah, especially too, I feel like because we wanted independence, we thought maybe this was a way to get it, but really it wasn't giving us the experience we truly, truly wanted. And I just feel like obviously it's neither one of our faults. It's just kind of like, oh, you give this a try. And then you're like, oh, it's not exactly how I envisioned. I mean, which is okay, but it's just better to just try to move on from it.
For sure. I think, like, at the end of the day, now I look back, I can see it set the stage for me and you, right? It set the stage of, like, and it set the foundations that we needed to go on and do the other stuff that we did. And I can only be thankful and grateful for that, like, truly. But at the time, it was just like really frustrating because, I love to eat out. Me and you, we wasn't vegan at the time, but we're still massive foodies. And I felt like I couldn't go out and like buy food and eat in restaurants and stuff. And I love doing stuff like that. So it got a bit too much. And also at the time, I think my brother was having his first baby. So, I was an auntie for the first time, and I really wanted to experience that back at home. So, I love Barcelona, but it didn't feel like I was kind of grounded there in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I just feel like it's very true. We just kind of needed that like little introduction. And I think that for anyone else that wants to do a program like this, it is a great program. And living with a host family, it really gives you a different perspective in terms of like the culture. But I think you need to be very clear about what kind of experience you want for yourself, because if you're not very clear on that about what you want, then you might be kind of like disappointed, or you might be in a situation that you didn't really want to be in if you're not really clear about your vision of what you want.
Yeah, and there's that side, and then there's the side of like, imagine if me and you, maybe, I mean, I had no idea what I was getting myself into in Barcelona. It wasn't bad, it was just different, right? And you're the same, like, with your experience, I mean, I know it very well, and you know mine very well, but we both had kind of like a bit of a, unsettling experience with the whole like family thing and whatever. But imagine if we didn't have it. Like, imagine if we knew actually the reality of this beforehand was going to be so intense and it was going to be this certain way. Like, and we decided to say no. Like, where would we be if we hadn't have done that? Like, we took a chance and we met each other, and and we've gone on to do so many more amazing things, because sometimes I think you just need to just take a risk, see what you think, see if you like it.
I agree. And I just feel like too, some people kind of fear of like, oh, if I try this and it doesn't work out, what will people think of me? I mean, I feel like someone said that to me before, and it's kind of like, who cares if it doesn't work out? I mean, come back and then you can kind of try again. Like, it's okay if it doesn't work out the first time.
Honestly, girl, this is so important for people to hear. Like, stop focusing on Sally down the road. Stop focusing on, Emily, who's on your Instagram followers. Like, stop caring. Even your family. Like, take what they say to a point, but do what you want to do. Live the way that you want to live. And like, if it goes wrong, start again. I've started again so many times in my life, and so have you. And we got to stop focusing on what other people want from us? And it's like, well, what do we want from life? Like, so that is such a good point. And I think people really need to hear that, actually, that it doesn't matter if you don't like something and you need to start again. The great thing is that you can start again, and at least you've tried something.
Exactly. I mean, so you went back to Manchester, but then it wasn't even that much longer until you moved again. You went to Thailand.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a bit here in between that nobody really knows about, but you know what? It's your podcast, let's be honest. So I was talking to a guy at the time when I was living in Barcelona, and I decided, I came home back to Manchester for a week or two, and then he was living in Bristol, and he was like, come and live with me in Bristol. So I moved to Bristol, which obviously you know, and that was around April, and I went living in Bristol for a bit, but I'd already agreed to move to Thailand in, I think it was June or July. So, you know, I was in a relationship with this person, and I decided, actually, no, I'm still going to go to Thailand because I've already agreed to it. And that's another point actually to make. It's like, oh, because you're in a relationship, do not stop your life for somebody else. Like, especially when I think I was 24 at the time, you know, you can't stop your life for somebody else. And I decided to carry on with my plans that I'd made before him. And thank God that I did, because it, you know, it didn't work out. But I decided to carry on and move to Thailand. And basically it was with a company called the British Council. And the same kind of thing again, which is crazy because you think that I wouldn't want to live with a family again, but somehow I did. And I lived with a Thai family, which was such a crazy experience. And it was a really great experience, you know, but the same issues came up for me. You know, they didn't want me to go out at night and things like that. And I was living way up in the jungle in the north. They'd never seen a white person before, you know, because no tourist had ever been there before. You know, I'd be like riding on a bicycle and they'd be like, oh my God, Farang, you know, in a really nice way. But nobody had ever seen, you know, like a white female teacher before. So that was just a really crazy experience to go through.
And did you feel like there was a major language barrier because there wasn't really any other foreigners in that part?
Yeah, there was definitely obviously a language barrier. Yeah, a language barrier, but also like there was such an appreciation for these teachers who would come here to, you know, to help the kids and to help with their English. And yes, even though you couldn't really communicate a lot of the time, like the headmistress and a lot of the teachers could speak English, but obviously a lot of the locals couldn't. But yeah, we communicate in different ways. Sometimes I've even had people draw me pictures. So you find a way to communicate. But yeah, the Thailand as we know it now was not the same then, like 4 years ago or whatever, especially up in the north, like way up north, like way past Chiang Mai and everything like that. There was no foreigners really there.
I can only imagine, you know, like you're with a family and you can't really always communicate. I feel like in Spain, it was a bit easier, you know, to communicate. I feel like there was a little bit more English, maybe like not that much more. But you decided to not stay in Thailand for very long, or how long did you end up staying there?
Yeah, again, I did the old jest trick and just kind of did one, but which I feel so bad for now when I think back. But again, it was just a freedom thing, which was really problematic for me. I stayed there for 2 months, but you know, like I had to share a room with another girl, the other teacher that was teaching the school. So you've got that, you're living with someone else, like literally in the tiniest room. You know, you're living with a family who wants to know your every move, and you know, and then you're in a school all day, and it just kind of got a bit much for me personally. So I decided to leave and I went to the islands. I wasn't by myself. Everybody from the teaching community in my area, we all met up in the islands, and they all went back and I stayed by myself. And I've got to tell you, it was the scariest moment of my life. I still think about it now and I'm like, oh my God, that was so terrifying. I remember that feeling, you know, that dreaded feeling of like, you've probably had it where it's like, usually I'm fine on my own, but it was just such a gut wrenching, I'm alone feeling, you know, with no one else around you. That's it, you're on your own.
Yeah. But then what's amazing is that because you are on your own, I mean, it kind of forces you to eventually kind of open up and like meet other people, you know?
Oh, 100%. I met the best people of my life, like on that trip by myself. So actually, I was just in Thailand in November, as you know, and I met one of the people that I met like 4 years ago in Thailand, who I shared pretty much like all of my trip with. And he owns a place in Thailand now, and I went to stay there, and I've not seen him in so long. And, you know, so it's them times where you feel the worst that usually you get through all that anxiety and you come through it and usually have the best memories. Like I have the best memories. I can't really remember any of the memories when I was teaching or anything like that. I remember the memories where I was completely alone, felt so anxious, but then met other people and had the best time.
Exactly. And that's the thing. People really do enhance an experience or make something so much better. And for anyone that wants to do solo traveling, it's just kind of like if you just keep that open mind, you'll be surprised to see as to what comes your way and what experience you end up having.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been traveling pretty much by myself for years, but then the times when I've been with friends who've maybe met me along the way or something, like you have amazing times, but you don't meet half as many people as you do when you're by yourself.
Exactly. I mean, when you travel with friends, I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. And you have amazing experiences, but sometimes it can close you off to meeting even other people, and that's why it's just kind of nice to be around other like-minded people who are also very open. So even though you might be with a friend, if you're both very open-minded, you can meet even other people as well. And you never know sometimes who you might meet.
Yeah, of course. And, I've been friends with people that, I mean, you're the same. We've got friends all over the world. Like in Manchester, I can count my friends on one hand, but the rest of my good friends are just dotted everywhere. And that's because of travel. And I think that's amazing. I think that's really, really beautiful. Like if I want to go to several countries, I can call up some of my really good friends and be like, can I stay with you? So it's important when you're traveling to try and make them connections with people. Because later down the line, when you meet up, it's just amazing. We've been through it many times.
Yeah. And also too, it helps make the world feel a lot smaller and helps make it feel less scary because it's like, oh, like I know people here and there and the world doesn't seem so overwhelmingly big. So, you stayed in Thailand for a bit and you ventured off for a while, but then you did come back to England, but then you had another opportunity to move again to Ibiza.
Yeah, actually. So when I came back from Thailand, I was living in Manchester for a little bit and I got an opportunity to work at JD Sports head office and I took it and it was the longest job that I've ever had in my whole time and it was about a year and 3 months or something. But it's a job that I thought to myself, right, I need to just try and see what this whole working in office things like, because I didn't really do it. I did it a bit obviously in London, but not for a long amount of time. So I thought, okay, well, let's see. Good opportunity, let's try it. And I was there for a year and 3 months. And I remember the last few months, and I had a boyfriend at the time as well. So he was in Manchester, and I thought, you know what, let's see what happens. And I remember the last 3 months, I was just trying my hardest to find a way out. And I was just applying for everything. I think I'd been to Ibiza 3 times that summer already. And it's that thing of mindset as well, because I remember coming back from my last Ibiza trip, going back into the office. And I just remember looking out the plane window and being like, oh my God, I'd love a job here. Like, it'd be amazing. And I started to think about living, working, lifestyle in Ibiza that I could have if I worked there. And literally a week later, I was on LinkedIn and I found a job to be the social media manager. Bearing in mind at the time, I was only an assistant, right? Like a social media assistant, to be a social media manager at Mambo's in Ibiza. And I was like, oh my God, what? This is it. This is literally it. This is my opportunity. And I had a Skype call with the manager over there. And he said, right, come on then. I've chosen you. It was between me and this other guy. And I was like, yes, women power. Let's get in there. And I beat the guy. And yeah, within 2 weeks, I pretty much got all my stuff ready. And I was on a plane to Ibiza again.
And so now you're back in a part of Spain. So how was it living there this time, not teaching, working, a social media manager job? Like, how was that experience this time around?
Way more stressful. It's so funny because the grass is always greener, right? And I've always been oh, well, if I did this, it'd be better. And if I did this, it'd be more fun. And, going from teaching English, it was so laid back, but that was annoying about the family stuff, having to live with them. But then flip it, all right, you're getting paid good money, but here's so much responsibility. here's so much like, you're having to work pretty much all night because it's all the clubs and you're following the DJs around who sometimes aren't the nicest, but, they're like just going crazy. And once you've passed them days of clubbing, suddenly I had to be in clubs again till 3 a.m., which I just didn't want to do. I was getting into the more health side of my journey. And I didn't really want to be up till 3, 4 a.m. drinking and all that kind of thing. So it was really tough. I won't lie. It was super tough.
Yeah, no, like the nightlife, I mean, it's never easy, right? It's definitely quite stressful. So I can only imagine having to do that, especially because you were there in the prime season, like in the summer season, right?
It was crazy. And I remember a guy coming over. I'd set up like a partnership with one of the DJs and Boohoo Man, right? And I remember the guy from the socials of Boohoo Man coming over and being like, oh my God, you've got such an amazing job. Like, so jealous. Like, what an amazing job. And I was like, honestly, let's swap them because I am so knackered every day. And it was just, on the outside, it looked like the perfect job. But summer in Ibiza, if you've got to work it like 6 days a week, I was working like 15 hours, festivals. I had about 4 different clubs and then about 5 different DJs to take care of. It was a lot, it looked like perfect from the outside.
And also you said you were tired, but you were only like what, 25, 26?
Yeah, I was young back then.
Well, that's what I mean. You said this is when you were already kind of starting to make a shift in your life in terms of like really trying to take care of yourself. Were you vegan at this time?
No, so I was like vegetarian because I remember eating goat cheese salad. So I was definitely vegetarian at that time, but yeah, I wasn't eating any meat. I started to find yoga actually in Barcelona and I still have. It's crazy. I started with yoga. That was my foundation. Yoga started me off on this kind of wellness and mindfulness journey. And I still have like the notebook of me trying to doodle like all of the different positions of like down dog and child's pose and stuff. It's crazy. But that's where it started. And when I was in Manchester as well, I used to travel 3 hours a day on 2 buses. It was horrific. And then I used to do like a 30-minute walk up a hill in the snow and rain. So I had a lot of time to like really explore these ideas and ideologies of life and the way that we should live. And I really tried to be vegetarian, and I've never even heard of veganism, to be honest with you, but I was exploring yoga, mindfulness, and law of attraction at that point. And then with all that, veganism appeared into my life pretty much at the end of Ibiza. And that's when I started to explore it, because before that, I'd never even heard of it. But I knew that this health and wellness journey was super important for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going through this like wellness journey, but then you're in Ibiza, which, is a completely different lifestyle. So eventually you kind of decided, okay, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah. So the job was just too stressful. So the kind of person that I am, again, Ash, this inside out because I rang you in tears because of stress, with jobs and stuff. I just knew that like, the only way that I can escape, because I just got anxiety from any sort of deadlines and any sort of like stressfulness. And it was so stressful. It was making me ill. It was making me really, really ill. Like I had one day off, and at that one day off, I was constantly looking at my work phone. And if it rang, I could actually feel like I needed to be sick. It was just, the anxiety was so intense. And it's been like that in a few jobs. And I thought, you know what? I can't do this. Obviously, whether it's stressful or not, a lot of people wouldn't find the work stressful. But you know what? I did, and I had to change it. So I went into a boss who could see how stressed and anxious I was. And the more anxious I was, the more mistakes that I made. And I was just like, you know what? I can't do this. And he was like, fair enough, And then I sat for like 2 days straight, sent out about hundreds of emails actually to companies in Ibiza offering like social media management, but a self-employed remote perspective. And I got one back from all them emails, which basically kick-started my social media self-employed career, which is an Australian acai company, and they kind of deliver organic acai to your door. So that's how it all started, really. And then I was able to work for months in Ibiza, self-employed.
Which is like crazy, right? It's like you go, somewhere for one thing and then something else comes out of it and something that's even better for you. But it's like, I feel like in the end, because you really kind of trusted your gut and being like, this really isn't for me. I need something that actually really does work for me.
Well, exactly. Like, and this is why I'm so passionate about the road you think you might be on will probably not be the road that you will end up on. But you have to have that unwavering belief that no, this road is leading me to where I need to be eventually. And that's what I believe. Like, okay, I had such high hopes for that job in Ibiza with Mambo. Like, I was like, yeah, amazing. Like, oh my God, this is going to change my life. Like, I'm going to be here for years, right? Literally, I said that to my mom. I was like, I'm going to be here for years. I love it. And then, after 4 or 5 months, I was like, oh my God, get me home. And that's fine. But what it did for me in the end, it took me on that path of being self-employed and how to get clients and how to work with clients remotely.
And I think also too, what I've realized, not just about you, but also within myself, is that we both have usually thought that something else was going to make us happy, that outer exterior thing was going to be the source of our happiness and success. But really, throughout our journey, you come to realize it really does have to come from within, and being like, okay, what do I have inside myself that I can offer that honestly is going to bring myself happiness?
Honestly, that line there, everything that you're chasing after that, you think will make you happy, honestly, it comes from within, like 100%. And I know that, you know that now, because me and you have always chased something, haven't we? Like, we've chased the freedom, we've chased the travel, and we love just moving around and we love new experiences. Without that, sometimes I felt empty. I felt so empty. And I know you did too. And then there was a time where it's like, okay, we have to just deal with what's in front of us. And that's when I think we went within and you ask yourself questions and you work with yourself. And hopefully, you come out the other end and you become fulfilled from inside rather than looking for that kind of outside pleasure sort of thing.
Exactly. So like you looked within and you realized you have these set of skills that you can offer, which allowed you to work remotely. But then you really started to kind of realize how you could take care more of yourself and like the earth. I mean, you are very sustainable, in terms of your travel and everything. So did that start in Ibiza, or how did you transition into living that kind of lifestyle?
No, so actually, like in Ibiza, I was just getting to grips with the veganism thing. Like, I was just kind of delving deep into that and exploring that. Like on my blog or my Instagram, I never really talked about it because also I was scared of even saying I was vegetarian or vegan at the time because it was such like a dirty thing almost, or like a frowned upon thing just to not eat animals. So I didn't really explore it that much. And then when I came back to Manchester and I had time, I moved into my own flat and I felt I could really explore like veganism. And then with veganism, obviously the facts and education came up about the earth and like, what are we doing really to our earth? And, eating animals, what does that equal for our earth? Like, what are the facts that are really going on here? And how can I be a part of that to try and aid the earth to a better state? So I would say like that year in Manchester really helped me just slow down and explore what I was actually passionate about.
Yeah, because you were there in Ibiza that summer. And then that following January, that's when I came back to Barcelona and you came and visited me. And I remember like you and I, we hadn't seen each other in like what, 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, and you actually went vegan before me. And I didn't actually really know you'd been vegan. And then I messaged you and I was like, oh my God, you're vegan too. I'm just turned vegan. So when we met up in Barcelona, we was both vegan, which we hadn't even talked about. We just like did it to say we're how close we were as well. Like we didn't even need to tell each other. We were just on the same path.
Exactly. But then also too, I really noticed then because we've stayed in touch, over the years and everything, but like actually seeing you in person, I really started to see, wow, she really is different and has grown so much compared to when we first met a few years before. I mean, you were more mindful and you had this like positive energy, like you were so different in like the best way though.
Really? Oh, no way. That's so nice to hear. Yeah. I feel like I had a really intense year and a half and where I really like looked at myself really difficultly and was like, right, you've got some stuff you need to heal. You've got some stuff you need to focus on. Like, what are you here for? And I asked myself some really difficult questions. And honestly, since that point, I've never looked back.
Yeah. I just feel like that's kind of how I am right now, like being, back in the US. It's a time for me to just kind of slow down and, ask that same question too, like, what am I here for? And I feel like with all the travel, I mean, it's amazing and you do learn so much, but, sometimes it's important to slow down as well, because if you don't, then you won't really realize what's really going on internally.
Yeah, 100%. I think after moving about for so long and I was always focused on the next place, we've both experienced that. And it's sometimes to actually gain clarity, you just need to be still. And, I read a bunch of books and I really delved deep, like I said, on like my mind and, childhood traumas that I had and everything like that. And I thought, okay, you've got some stuff to heal. To be able to heal, you need to be in a place that you feel comfortable. And that's the time when I thought, no, right, you're going to stay here for a little bit. And that year in Manchester in my own flat served me so much happiness and joy and stillness that I really needed in that time.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like too, it just kind of gave you like a sense of clarity as to what really makes you happy and also like how you want to act like on earth. So, a year or so went by like in Manchester, and then it wasn't until later that April I moved to Manchester and you picked me up from the airport. And what did you ask me as soon as I got to your flat?
So let's rewind. Like, you call me up, and I know it's always like something super important because you never call me like 3 times, 4 times in a row unless you really need me for something that's super important, right? So I looked at my phone and I had a few missed calls and I was like, oh, I still remember where I was and everything when you did this. And you called me and you was like, I've just got my flight to Manchester. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I couldn't believe you was actually coming. Like, you said you would and you did it, and amazing. And then I picked you up from the airport and give you a hug, whatever, like blah, blah, blah. Let's get your case on and everything. And I said, you got back to my flat. I think I give you a gin and tonic. And I said, do you want to move to Bali when this is all done? When you've got to go home, let's move to Bali. And you was like, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I was like, great, here's your gin and tonic. Let's cheers. And then 6 months later, we're to Bali.
Yeah. Well, I also want to just rewind just a little bit too, because you asked me first, you're like, what are your plans after Manchester? Because I moved to Manchester, my other plans fell through and I just kind of felt, Manchester, I just felt would be perfect. So my plan was to stay there for 6 months. And that was as far as I had planned. So when you asked me like, what's your plan after Manchester? I was like, I don't know. Like I literally just got there. So when you said, let's move to Bali, I just thought, sure, why not? I really didn't see why we shouldn't move to Bali together. But I want to also talk about how we both were able to do it, because at this point you were working a job where you were able to kind of work from home, but you were really craving to work online.
Yeah, so the job that I had was like an online news source for Manchester. So I was writing all their articles and I was doing all of their social media. And I was technically self-employed, but I still had to go into an office 4 days a week. But I was earning good money. I was writing. If I didn't feel well, I could work from home. If I didn't feel like it, I could just, work from home, and that was great. But I've always craved something that I didn't really know what I wanted. So it was like, I want freedom. Okay, well, what do you want from the freedom? What job do you want? And I was like, I don't know. I just know I want freedom. And still with this job, it's like every job has brought me closer to where I want to be. And I can only see that now. I can only really see that looking back. But the job that I had, I stayed in it for a while. It was great. I wrote articles and I did their social media and stuff. But yeah, like you said, like I still wanted something different from the job. And then they kind of laid all of their self-employed people off. And I was like, right, okay. Oh, what's going to happen now? I had a £700 apartment to pay for in Manchester city centre. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? I cannot go back to that office lifestyle. I can't do it. And then you told me about online teaching, remember?
Yeah, I've been with VIP Kid for only like a few months at that point. And I told you, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. And for me, it was kind of like a backup plan, but, it was kind of working out really well. And you were like kind of curious. You're like, teaching online, huh?
It was a new thing to me. Like, if I had known about this years ago, I wouldn't have done half the jobs that I would have done, And I remember saying to you, oh, what is it? Like, what's the deal? And I know with VIP Kid, you told me that it's only US and Canada, right? But with that, I found some companies that accepted UK citizens, and I was like, cool, let's do it. And from there, started working from home, doing online teaching, which totally was just so crazy. Like I could cancel when I wanted, I could make my own schedule, I could work when I wanted to work. I was blown away. It was like someone had given me a lottery ticket and was like, here you go. Like, it's well paid. It's really well paid if you work the hours and whatever. But it was more the lottery ticket to freedom that I'd kind of been looking for.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I feel like gave you and I'm even more confidence to be able to move somewhere like Bali together. So when we were like planning our move to Bali, I remember you were doing all the research. I mean, you were looking on Airbnb, you were looking on which cities or towns to live in Bali.
I love the research. It's like the research is my foreplay. The research like gets me going. So I love to like delve into like, oh, where are we going to live? What are we going to do? And half the time, I don't even follow the research things up, but I just love to like throw myself into stuff. And there's nothing more exciting than, you know, moving to a new place, especially with your best friend, because we had both never ever done this before. You know, I know you as much as I could ever possibly know a friend, and you're probably the same. So we'd never done this before, and I wanted to make sure that I did as much research for us as possible and everything like that.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, this was our first time not only like moving together, but, you know, we were really like sticking to like working online, and we didn't want to just teach. You know, we really had like bigger goals for ourselves. You know, we both really wanted to go into business together. Like we really wanted to make this like this life-changing thing. Right. So I remember like when we first got there, we moved to Ubud. We had Airbnb, we had like a whole villa. And so for you, we were in Ubud for a whole month. So how was that first month in Ubud to you?
Again, when I mentioned before, like the grass is always greener. So you think like, for me anyway, it was going to be this amazing thing. And it was, but I was just so overwhelmed because, you know, I was still in a relationship back in the UK, and I suddenly just started to get so much anxiety at night. Like I remember telling you, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm just so upset, but only at nighttime. During the day, I was like fine. And then once it dark, and you know, in Bali, it goes dark at like 6 p.m., right? But when it was dark, I would just turn into like this like anxious mess. Like I was like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So the month there was just, you know, now I look back and I was like, okay, I was just settling in, and I was just dealing with, you know, leaving somebody that I cared about and loved back home after, you know, 2 years together with that person. And it was a whole new way of life for both of us. And I just had a lot of anxiety about it for sure. But it was also something that I knew I wouldn't turn my back on and go back home. Like I would never quit something unless I really felt like I really needed to. And I knew I needed to persevere with it. And that's what I did.
Yeah, no, I remember you would like come down or we would see each other the next morning and you were telling me how uneasy you felt. And it was kind of difficult to figure out why, because I mean, we were in a very safe place, in a very safe area, and Balinese, they're like the friendliest people. So it's not like necessarily it was like the environment. It was definitely something kind of like internal, but obviously like neither of us could pinpoint as to what that was.
Yeah, of course. And I was already feeling quite anxious, obviously, with everything, and, you know, missing my boyfriend and stuff. And I don't know if I was even missing. I don't know what I was missing, but I just felt uneasy, right? Because if someone had said to me, oh, you can go back to living in Manchester, I would have been like, hell no. It was just almost like a settling period. But then, you know, something really terrible happened. Within the first 3 weeks of me living there, you know, my gran was like my second mom. You know, I got a phone call saying that she was in hospital and that she wasn't going to make it, and that was kind of it. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you saw me. I was such a mess. I was such a mess. And, you know, she was old. She was like 90 something or whatever, 92, you know, but there's still nothing that can prepare you for losing someone so sacred and someone so beautiful in your life. And, you know, you seeing me probably at my worst at that time. And then from that, my dad had to be put into a care home because he wasn't coping with it very well. And it was just such an intense period. That month of my life was just so intense.
Yeah, no, I remember that first month. I mean, it was great, but then it was also, like you said, very intense. I mean, we got there, we were in this beautiful villa, and it's very cheap and affordable, especially we found it on Airbnb. You know, there was this amazing food and cafes and everything. But then I just remember in the midst of it all, that happened with your grandma. And then I remember you spilled, I think, coconut oil on your phone. And then like something like that. Yeah, it might be just physical material thing. But when like you're already kind of just emotionally drained because like the loss of someone, and then like little things like that kind of go wrong, it just kind of adds up over time. And then eventually you just kind of reach your breaking point.
Yeah, exactly. And I really, really did reach that point. And like, I didn't really know what to do for the best. You know, I had questions like put to me by myself and, you know, by my family, like, are you going to come home? Are you going to come home for your grand's funeral? Like, what are you going to do? And I just paid like hundreds to get to this place. And like regarding the funeral, I'd never lost somebody so close to me before ever. Like she was like, oh, she was so sacred to me. She still is, obviously. But you know, I've never dealt with that pain before. And suddenly it was like, are you going to go home? Are you going to go to the funeral? And I used to imagine her saying to me, if you go home, you're a bloody idiot. Don't you dare go home. You need to stay where you are and enjoy your life. Don't be so silly. And I just felt her, and I had a few dreams with loads of, you know, crazy stuff happening in them. And I decided not to go home for the funeral, which is a really difficult decision to make when you've just got to somewhere and you're already feeling fragile because you've left someone you love at home and then somebody dies. And, you know, it was a crazy, crazy time. When it was supposed to be so beautiful, it was supposed to be such a nice, easy time, but it turned into this like really intense period.
No, it really did. I feel like for you and for like myself as well, like, you know, you're on this beautiful island and, you know, it's paradise and you're like, oh, you would think everything's picture perfect. But again, it goes back to the internal things. You know, it's not the external that's going to make you happy. It's the internal things. And I think, yeah, with everything that you were going on with your family, it's kind of like, how can you try to stay happy or be happy when you're going through all these internal struggles?
Yeah, 100%. It's like all the years in a work that I'd done up until that point, I really needed to like cling to because I really needed it in that moment. And like, I really needed you, like, you know, and you were so good with me because, God, I actually remember the day that my gran died. And I said to you, I'm going to go and treat myself to like a 3 hour, 4 hour massage. And I went to this place in Ubud, and I'll always remember this beautiful woman. We literally, she could not speak English. I obviously don't speak Balinese, and she didn't speak English. And, you know, I tried to communicate that someone had passed in my family. She kind of understood. And when she was doing her massage and I was laying my back, tears were just literally streaming down my face, you know, like streaming. And she just stopped her massage, didn't say anything, and just dabbed my tears for me. And that was such a sacred moment of like, someone just not really understanding like what you're saying, but understanding that the pain that you're going through. And she just, the little blanket, the little towel, just like dabbed my tears away.
I actually do remember you did tell me that when you came back after your massage. And obviously, I was very happy that someone was there to kind of comfort you in that time. But I can only imagine, and I have had that happen before where you lose someone close to you, but you're far away and you can't really go to your family or whatever because you are so far away and it's really difficult. So I feel like it's in those times you kind of have to count your blessings, whether you have like a friend there or like a stranger just comforting you, you know, just to kind of realize that you're not alone.
Yeah, 100%. Like connection in them moments is so sacred and it's so important. And yeah, like thank God you was there because it would have been even more darker than it was already. But no, like Bali is an amazing place for connection though, for real. Like I feel like everyone in Bali is just going through like a wave of emotions all the time. So no matter what emotion you're going through, you can find people that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. Like both of us fell in love with Bali, not only because it is beautiful, but like the people as well, both the local Balinese, but then also the other expats that were living there. It was just such a different world compared to anywhere that I had been to or that you had been to. You really do see the freedom that people have there that they create for themselves.
Yeah, I think Bali is like a hub of freedom, to be honest. There's a lot of broken people there. There's a lot of people who are, living the best life. There's just such a hub of people thriving or figuring their stuff out, launching businesses, relaunching businesses. And that's what I love about Bali. Everyone's got an interesting story in Bali for sure.
Exactly. And so like for you or for us when we were there, we were working on our own projects, but I feel like especially for you, this really was a time for you to really dive in deeper into what your values are in terms of like sustainability and like taking care of yourself and taking care of our planet. I feel like you really were making an effort to show that not to yourself, but to a lot of people on social media as well.
Yeah, like I feel like with Bali, like obviously being in Asia and everything, like even though there's a lot of vegan, sustainable places to eat and local places and everything, like it's still Asia and it's still a place where being sustainable can be a real issue. How many plastic bottles did we see swimming in the ocean and everything like that? So if anything, like Bali was this paradise, but also so many issues, and it really forced me to look at the sustainability in a different way and like, okay, so I can not buy a plastic bottle for a day, but if I do it for a week and I buy a reusable bottle, that's even better, or a coffee cup, a reusable coffee cup or whatever. So everyone eats out there as well, and then it's the little things like buying cutlery or getting plastic cutlery. If you buy reusable cutlery, it's better. And so I was really forced to make and see different options for being sustainable in Bali, because it's a paradise, like I said, but it's really difficult sometimes. I feel like they just didn't really get the sustainability issue there.
Unfortunately, that's how it is, in a lot of Southeast Asian countries. And I think like the top 5 most polluting countries does include like Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, and I think China. I can't remember, but there's like top 5 countries that most pollute. And they are unfortunately like in Southeast Asia. And I feel like it does go a little bit because maybe like a little bit of lack of education, but also like lack of resources in terms of trying to be sustainable, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it is just a lack of education, like nobody wants to go out of the way to hurt the earth or like harm the earth or make it a worse place than it already is. People want to help and people are mindful to a point, but I think it's just an education issue. So like in Bali, like it was quite hard sometimes just to refill your bottle, your reusable bottle, because they just be plastic bottles to sell. And it's like, okay, why aren't we giving different options here? And I think with a lot of countries, it's just a lack of education or a lack of options.
Yeah. And I really do think it's a bit of both, like, not having resources and also lack of education, just because when you go to these countries, they are quite poor. So it's like, even though there are ways they could still do their part, other things that might be a bit more difficult. But you've always been really good about carrying reusable things with you. So when you travel, what are your like must-haves that you use all the time?
Yeah, okay. So like I'd just like to say, being real, like no one can be 100% sustainable all the time. Like the climate that we live in, and especially if you're a traveler, and nobody needs to get on their high horse about what other people are doing. I think it's all about coming together and trying to educate each other about how we can all do better as a collective. Okay. So for me, I think a reusable water bottle is literally a no-brainer. Like you need a reusable water bottle. I have a few actually. Sig is a really nice one that I just got recently. A reusable coffee cup. They're so easy. You can get a nice little bamboo coffee cup, and yeah, they're really, really cute little patterns on and stuff. Shopping bags, grocery bags, just reuse them, or take a little stylish one if you don't really like the shopping market ones. Bamboo cutlery, I think everyone forgets about this, and I used to a lot as well. So if you get a lot of takeouts, just bring your little bamboo cutlery or just cutlery from home. I have a little reusable, kind of like everything that your food goes in. I'll just take it to any takeaway, and I'm just like, oh, can you just put my curry in there? And it's just a reusable one that I use every time. A glass straw as well is super easy to just carry with you. Usually I just put it in the same like little pouch as my bamboo cutlery. And a Kangen water machine, which is Definitely an investment, but will actually in the long run save you thousands of pounds over the years because you can use it for so many different purposes.
Yeah. So a Kangen like water machine. So what is that for people that don't know? Because I feel like, people normally just, of course, drink bottled water or just drink from the tap. So what is Kangen water?
Yeah, so a Kangen water machine basically is a medical grade in-home water ionizer. Okay, so it produces 8 different levels of alkalized rich, hydrogen rich water. So you can basically use this machine for so many different uses. I think it has 8 different pH levels. You can use it for your face. For instance, you can use the beauty water and you don't have to buy face wipes, you don't have to buy face wash, you don't have to buy conditioner for your face, you don't have to buy plant food because it helps your plants. You can use the 2.5, which is basically like a disinfectant spray. So now I don't have to buy any bleach, I don't buy any like cleaning supplies or anything because I can just use that with some essential oils, peppermint, I like to use. And you can disinfect all of your tops or your dishes or anything like that. And then you have the 8.5, the 9.0, and the 9.5, which is drinking water as well. There's literally so many uses for this machine, and overall, you will save thousands eventually. But it's a machine that's just coming into people's lives at the minute, but can be so beneficial. So I'm just trying to spread that message of the Kangen water machine because obviously you don't have to buy bottled water either, which is, saving on plastic with the cleaning supplies. You don't have to buy the cleaning supplies, which is also saving on plastic.
No, like it sounds amazing. The fact that you don't have to buy all these other things because you can use that one machine pretty much for virtually almost anything, which is amazing. So how did you first hear about it and how did you get one yourself?
Actually, I think I mentioned this to you in Bali. I was like, oh my God, there's this machine and like it does all this, and there's so many different pH levels and the health benefits, like scientifically, are just incredible. And me and you were really health conscious and stuff. But at the time, I was just in Bali and it was just too much for me. So I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. And then I came back, and one of my best friends in Manchester had a machine, and I was like drinking the water because I really, really suffer with acid reflux. Poor Ashley knows about my constant like burping. And I used to get headaches literally every day that I used to wake up. I'd wake up and I had a headache for hours. So I was looking for that kind of alternative. And then my friend Tilly was giving me water, and it pretty much went within like a few days. And I was just astounded by it. So I thought, you know what? There's no investment that's big enough for me not to pay for my health. Like anything that's going to make me feel better is worth it. So I invested in the machine, and yeah, I've never really looked back.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this machine in Bali and you were kind of interested in it, but you were a little unsure at the time. But I feel like anything that helps your health is like worth investing. So eventually, like you and I, we both did split ways in Bali. Like you left, I think, in April, and then I left in May.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, basically this time last year. How crazy is that? How scary is it?
It is crazy. But the thing is, Bali, I feel for the both of us, we never saw it as a permanent thing. We both saw it as an opportunity for the both of us to really help ourselves grow. And I feel like it's really helped us lead us to where we are right now. So what did you feel was your biggest takeaway from Bali?
I think Bali has this energy and this like aura that just forces you to really confront your darkest demons that you may have. So for me, oh God, I face so many there, like head on as well, because there's no like turning away from it in Bali. Energetically, it's so intense, and any crap that you have that you've pushed to the back of your mind or that you don't want to deal with, like Bali will go, no, honey, you need to deal with it. Here we go. And that was a big takeaway for me is like, I feel like coming away from Bali, I'm a new person. I feel so happy with who I am. I don't feel the need to like move anywhere, which is crazy for me. Like I feel the need to travel every now and again. Like I've been to Thailand, Barcelona, and Sri Lanka since I come back, but like I don't feel the need to move anywhere particularly, which before I felt such a strong urge to just be constantly traveling all the time. So I feel like since Bali, the biggest takeaway is just kind of the stillness and just to be and just to keep on doing the inner work, and that anything is possible. and everyone's on their own agenda, which is so inspiring.
No, it is. And that's the thing. Like you and I, we both met very inspirational people that had their own businesses, working on their own projects. And when you're around that, it really does inspire you to do something, for yourself, whether it's there or you leave and you do it, after you leave. So I feel like Bali, especially like for you, it gave you that stillness that you kind of needed, and also that confidence, in order to kind of really pursue more of your like online brand and like your online image. Because now like you really are like a voice for someone, not just for the Kangen water, but also for sustainability.
Yeah. So I am currently at the point which I dreamed of like 3 years ago, and like you really have to trust in everything that you're going through, because if you'd have shown me where I am now a year ago, I would have gone, nah, not going to happen. Like, no, what's the point? I believe that I will get there. But this time last year, I was just such in a low kind of frequency and vibration that I was like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I was so lost. I had no idea what my career path was. So you just got to give it time, and you've got to kind of trust that your path is leading you to exactly where you need to be. Because I would have no idea that I would be completely self-sufficient, self-employed, running my own days, day to day, and enjoying it at the same time,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that in the end you wanted freedom, and that's why you left all these years ago. But at the time you didn't know what freedom looked like. You just knew that's what it wanted. And it's just kind of crazy that like over the years you finally have that freedom, but in a way that you just didn't see years ago.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just knew that I wanted to breathe and just be by myself and just go off and do all these trips. But then, what's even stranger is I've come back to the exact same place where I wanted to escape from, where I now feel so much freedom, and sure, I want to go off and do the solo travel, and I love to go away for a month or so, but this is my base. This is where I feel the most peaceful, and I love it. And it's completely crazy what life will bring you, and you think you need one thing, but when you get another, it's crazy for sure. So who knows where we'll be, but you plan certain aspects of your life, but sometimes you just got to roll with it.
Exactly. So you did all these jobs, some you just didn't like or were too stressful. So now you are at a point where you work for yourself. So what do you do now that brings you so much fulfillment?
So I always obviously have my blog and my Instagram. So I promote basically ethical, vegan, sustainable brands. And I only work with brands that align with my values and my ethos, which in itself is just incredible. Like, I'm so grateful that I can pick and choose who I get to work with on a daily basis. So I do that. And then I'm a Kangen water distributor, which basically means I get to sell the healthiest water to people in the world, and they can also create their online business from that. And obviously the Kangen water promotes sustainability, health and wellness as well. So I'm basically living my dream and being able to travel, not right now, but before and after this is all over. Yeah, doing what I love, which was once just such a distant dream to me.
Yeah, no, and I'm so happy for you, honestly, because I know like what you've gone through in order to get here. And especially like in Bali, I feel like Bali was the biggest stepping stone you had to take in order to get here. So witnessing that and seeing where you are now, it really does make me so happy, because I feel like you really are living true to yourself every day, which that's all you could ever want for someone.
Yeah, as you know, I've always struggled because I was like, what am I going to do the rest of my life? Because I'm going to either be unhappy in a job that I just really, really hate, which I couldn't even do anyway because I've been sacked from pretty much every job because I've hated it. If I hate something, I can't do it. Like, I'm not all in. So I come to a point where I was like, you know what? How's your life going to look? Like, you can't do anything that you're not passionate about, but you don't even know what you're passionate about. And did loads of Reiki and, loads of tarot card playing and things like that. And it was just like, wait, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I was like, no. It's not okay. Like, for me, I'm really impatient. I'm a Taurus, as you are. And we want everything and we want it all now. And we want to know the answers. But when I did actually surrender and just be like, okay, you've got to let go and see what comes to you. And then it was right on my doorstep this whole time. So who knew?
I know. Who knew that it really was just from within this whole time, So, we've talked quite a bit about the past, but I want to talk a little bit about the future. I mean, right now, is a time where no one can travel, but right now, what do you see for yourself this year, though?
Honestly, so right now, currently, I'm working towards a 4A in my business, which basically means I'll be making like £5,000 a month, which is awesome. Money's never been like the goal for me. Like I said, it's always been freedom. But with money comes freedom. That's what I see money as. So for me, once I've hit 4A in my business, I can purchase a flat in Barcelona, which has been my ultimate dream for a few years now. So I want to buy a house or a flat in Barcelona near the beach, which would be amazing. And I am working towards having like a badass team of 10 people. I've currently got 5, so I want to double it, who are just as passionate about health and sustainability and wellness as me. And I also want to travel to South America because I've been watching Narcos and I'm obsessed with like the whole like vibe there. It just seems amazing. So I definitely want to go to South America. And yeah, I want to go back to Barcelona ASAP. That's a massive thing for me because obviously me and you were supposed to move there in May and I don't think that'll happen. So the first thing that I want to do is go and see you in Barcelona.
No, same here. I'm dying to just travel somewhere, but not just travel, but of course, like see you. I mean, it's been a year, so I want to see you ASAP. So I definitely would love for that to happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I just also want to ask, how do you feel that you've changed? How do you feel like you are now compared to how you were when you first started this traveling and moving abroad journey?
I've literally done a 180, to be honest. Like, I'm still the same person. I've still got the same like personality in a lot of ways. I'm still a bit wacky and I'm still a bit daft and silly and whatever. But I have this whole new aspect to me, which is so much calmer. There's an inner peace in me now that I just wanted for so long. So, I want to give the 23-year-old me a big hug and say, babe, it's going to make me cry because I feel so sorry for her at 23. She was such a babe, but she had no clue. She literally had no clue, bless her. I just want to give her a hug and be like, you know what, honey, you'll be okay. Give me a big hug. Because, yeah, she was so lost and she just sought validation in every single person, whether it be a relationship or a friend. And she was so lonely and she just needed to be around people constantly. And there is no way on earth that if you'd have fast forward 6 years, 7 years, that I would think that I would be here, love living on my own, love not being with people all the time and don't really seek anything from anyone, just happy in my solitude. So the change has been massive for me and I'm proud of it. And we should all be proud of like everything that we're going through, whether it's sad or whether it's setting, because everything is just taking you to the point that you need to be.
I think that's very well said. Everything does happen for a reason and it does lead you to where you need to. So if someone wants to kind of do this for themselves and like maybe move abroad or solo travel, what advice would you give that person?
I'm going to be real blunt because I had to be blunt with myself when I first started doing this. Like, stop waiting for other people. Just stop it. Like, stop waiting for your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your best friend, because I did this. I was waiting for like friends at uni and they said they'd come and then, let's go and travel here for a year. I'd wait for them. Then they was like, oh no, like I don't want to. That's totally their choice. But I'd be pissed off and I'd be hurt by it. Or, I was always like, why has everyone else got a boyfriend who wants to travel, but I don't? Like, it's so not fair. Like, I'd almost feel sorry for myself. Well, you need to get to that point where you're just like, no, this is my life. There is no way I'm going to wait for other people to create my life for me. So you need to just stop being so afraid of like what ifs and just go and get a glass of wine, book your flight, apply for whatever you need to apply for, and just do it. Just stop waiting for other people to tell you can and just say, I can, and just go out and get it. Because I'm telling you now, it'll be the best decision that you've ever made. Like, I'm living proof of that. Like, Ash is living proof of that. You just need to say, I can. I'm going to do it.
Yes. 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 No, it's perfect. Just do it. Don't wait for anyone. No, I love it. You are an inspiration, to me, but to so many people. So if people want to follow you, I mean, where can they find you?
So find me on Instagram, wildshe, that's WILDSHE_. So wildshe_, where I share, like, I'm really raw and real with stuff that I go through in my life. And that's what you'll kind of find on my Instagram. And my stories are always a bit silly and a bit daft and just the real me. So you can find me on there. And my blog, it's wildshe.co.uk, which is definitely more like, less silly, more like, okay, I've been traveling here, this is what you'll find, more factual of like what my travels that I've been on and stuff.
So Instagram, your blog, but then also too, if someone is interested in Kangen water, because you are a Kangen water distributor, how can someone get a hold of you?
Yeah, just send me a DM on my Instagram and I will for sure hit you back up and everything. If not, my email is Jessica and then a hyphen Browne with an E at hotmail.co.uk. But yeah, make sure if you want to send me a message, then you can do that on Instagram.
Okay, well, perfect. Definitely hit Jess up. She will hook you up with amazing clean water. And then also you do have amazing inspirational stories. And I like that you are so real and not fake, because unfortunately there's a lot of fakeness you see on social media, but you've always been so raw and real, which I truly appreciate. So I'm so thankful that we were able to talk today. And thank you so much, Jess. Follow Jess if you're not.
Thank you so much. Honestly, Ashley, you're incredible. And thank you for this opportunity. It's been incredible. And I'm so thankful for you and anyone who's actually listened today. So much love, peace, serenity. Try and keep calm in these crazy times. And yeah, see you soon.
See you. Thank you. For more information on travel and life abroad, go to Venture-Ette.com. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know by leaving a review. And be sure to follow me at Venture-Ette on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Safe travels, and until next time.